Right, I'm Mr. Simons and I welcome you to this lesson. So in this lesson we're going to learn how to physically use the cast rule for the quadrants to reduce. What we mean with reduction. Right, now you see I start second quadrant because in the first quadrant everything stays positive, right? So to reduce the trig ratio of angle second quadrant, we'll always use 180 minus the acute angle theta. Theta must be less than 90 and bigger than 0 degrees, meaning 89,99 going to 0,001, whichever way you want to. 180 minus acute angle, right? We know it's second quadrant, the angle must fall between 90 and 180 degrees. So in exam, we can say straight, reduce the following, right? So I gave you sine 100 degrees. 100 falls, it's bigger than 90 but smaller than 180, so it falls in the second quadrant. So as soon as it falls in the second quadrant, it will be written as 180 minus 80 degrees. And we assume you know that is 100 degrees. If I reduce it now, it becomes sine 80. So it always becomes the angle on the inside, the acute angle. That's the purpose of reduction, to write sine with the angle smaller than 90. Right? Now, please, I've marked this year in, year out with grade 11s, grade 10s, even grade 12s. We do not write 180 minus the 100. The 2, when we subtract it here, you see there, must always give me the top angle. So if you look at number 2, we have cos 130. Right? We assume, 180 minus 50 gives me 130. Why am I using 180 minus? Because 130 is bigger than 90 but less than 180, so it's in the second quadrant. 180 minus 50 in the second quadrant, according to the cast rule, cos is negative, so therefore that becomes negative cos 50 degrees. And again, I've reduced it to a acute angle. Right? Tan 170 will become bigger than 90, less than 180, so therefore to solve that, 180 minus 10 degrees. 180 minus 10 is 170, therefore this becomes negative 10 degrees. And 10 degrees is an acute angle or angle less than 90. Alright, now when we say third quadrant, we're talking of all angles, that's 180 to 270 degrees. No? So to reduce in the third quadrant, it will be 180 plus theta. No? And remember, theta is always acute angle. So you see 245 is bigger than 180, less than 270. So 180 plus 65 gives me 245. No? If I reduce third quadrant, sine is negative. So it becomes negative sine 65 degrees. To cos 200, 200 again, bigger than 180, less than 270. So therefore 180 plus what angle gives me 200? 180 plus 20 degrees, right? In the third quadrant, cos is negative, so that becomes negative cos 20 degrees. Right? And if you look at the third one here, tan 215, 215 bigger than 180, less than 270, so that becomes tan 180 plus 35, which gives me 215, and that reduces to tan 35. In the third quadrant, tan is positive. Right, next one, when we're looking at the fourth quadrant. So in the fourth quadrant, to reduce the trig ratio, remember now we're working 270 till 360. Ne? We will use 360 minus acute angle, right? So 305 bigger than 270, less than 360. So that becomes 360 minus 55 to give me 305. But in the fourth quadrant, sine is negative, so that becomes negative sine 55. Cos 320 becomes cos 360 degrees minus 40, right, which gives me 320. But in that quadrant, cos is positive, so that stays cos 40 degrees. Tan 345 would become 360 minus 15. But in the fourth quadrant, tan is negative, so that's negative tan 15 degrees. So that's some basic reduction. We're not going to test it this easy in exam. Right, we're going to be combining them. There's going to be more than one, so you're not only going to get one to work with, right? So you need to understand each one individually. I hope this lesson helps you greatly. Please like, share and subscribe for more content so you can stay up to date with more content coming in. Alright, continue practicing. Create your own angles. Practice it over and over till it becomes second nature. Engineering, lot of trigonometry.